I've taken an entire year's worth of biology curriculum and compiled it into 40 video lectures for you. The video series covers every single NGSS life science standard, and it's available exclusively for you on teacherspayteachers.com. Link is in the description. So again, if you or somebody you know would benefit from this, spread the word.
I really want to touch on the Big Bang because if that could be explained, I may be able to answer the other questions. So, what about the Big Bang do you like? Do you just what's the beginning of the creation for the Big Bang for you, from your understanding?
No idea. So we have no clue what was going on before the Big Bang started, but that's not part of the theory, and it doesn't really have any bearing on is all the stuff we know about what the universe has been doing in the 14-ish billion years since then true or not. It doesn't really have any bearing on that. So I don't know. I don't really care. I don't tell people what the answer is or what the answer is likely to be. Sometimes I go down this route where I say, here's what it possibly could be, but we don't know. So
Okay. So, from your experience, the science that you're dealing with is from observation that you can prove, right?
yeah, and the thing that makes science different is it makes testable new or like it makes new testable predictions. So the Big Bang theory, the concept of the Big Bang, like a universe that is expanding, that's a very old idea. It's a 100-year-old idea at this, or not quite, but very nearly 100-year-old idea at this point. And there were specific mathematical predictions that were made, like in the 40s about it, and those came true in the 60s, like when we found the microwave background radiation, for example. There have been some things that really surprised us that got added to the theory, but just the general idea that we live in this expanding universe and it would have such and such properties if everything in the observable universe began expanding from not exactly a point, but we can think of it like that way, or we can think of it like that. And those predictions have come true. So,
Okay. Let me ask you something. Does it make logical sense to believe that everything
came
came
from
from?
nothing.
Yeah.
That's not what the Big Bang is.
I know that, but
No, I
I
don't
feel,
think it does, but I don't believe that, and that's not the Big Bang was never the idea that that's what happened.
so okay, let me see. Do you believe in God?
I used to, but I don't anymore.
Okay. So what do you believe the existence of everything was, how that was formed? Or do you have like any or let me ask this question. Does it make logical sense to assume that creation proves that there's a creator?
No, because that's just begging the question. Because you're just stating that everything is created, and we know that because everything looks created, therefore it was created. It's really there's no argument there. But in terms of what made the Big Bang happen, or what was there before the Big Bang, or did something make the universe begin to exist, I don't have a belief about that. There's really nothing, there's no logical contradiction in just stating that it's not created, because God can have that property. I don't see why a universe can't have that property. And it also kind of fits with everything we have ever observed and what we know, because matter and energy aren't created. Now you could say, like, what is dark energy and where does it come from? Well, we don't know, but that would be the best you could do, I suppose.
Okay. Well, I mean, it would be illogical to think though that something is the universe can be the concept of God, because the universe would, I mean, space, material, and time all came into existence at a single point, which would be the Big Bang. So, to assume that the universe has the same characteristics as God would be, I guess, contradicting to the definition of it being created.
No, I didn't say that. I said the universe isn't created and God is allowed to have that property. So the universe can have that property. What that would mean is before the Big Bang, like don't get hung up on the thought that the Big Bang was the creation of the universe. It's not the creation of it. Because a universe can exist before the Big Bang happened. There's nothing wrong with that idea, that concept.
What proof do we have that anything has existed before anything has existed?
So we're thinking about this like in a temporal sense, like 10, like figuring out your unit of time is weird. I could say 10 days ago the sun still existed, but according to the sun there's no such thing as a day. So I could say 4 trillion vibrations of a quartz crystal ago the sun still existed, and now we're kind of getting to a point where we're using something that's a little more objective than
Yeah.
Earth circling the sun or Earth spinning around. But if we just run the clock backwards, there's still a universe and there's still a universe. But time is, I mean, I don't have my own like sophisticated concept of what time is, but time is it. We call it space time because they're connected to each other, right? And we know that time passes differently for different observers depending on different conditions. Well, if we crunch all the matter and energy in the universe together, the laws of physics break down, and now all of a sudden we have something that's not really like the space-time we currently experience and make observations and measurements with, but it's still there. It just becomes this very odd state. It breaks down into, I don't know, a pure quantum field or something like that. And physicists call these types of things something like past eternal models, where there is a universe, it sits, but it just exists in a very different kind of state than this universe we see. And something triggers an expansion of it, and matter and energy as we understand them evolve out of that. So I'm not the best ambassador to put that into words, but this is a way that we can have a universe that exists that isn't created, that just simply evolved and changed states. Or maybe time is cyclical. Maybe the Big Bang happened because a universe before ours collapsed in on itself, crunched together, and then rebounded. And the only thing we can see is the rebound, which is our Big Bang. And billions of years from now, trillions of years from now, whatever, it'll happen again. And there's no beginning to any of that. It's cyclical. It's like saying, where does the equator start? It doesn't, but it's there. It exists. You can even measure it. So that's my rant.
Okay. So let's see here. A lot of those points I definitely understand, but only from a perspective of you viewing it outside of what the actual theory of what you're saying it is. Because for it to be, for the Big Bang to be, like you said, it's not creation. It always existed and it just expanded. That's illogical to think that, because it had to be created. I mean, it doesn't.
Why?
I don't see how we can sit and say that something that you see had not been created. Has anything in the laws of nature or study, has it ever been a thing that you've been able to observe that hasn't been created?
Nothing's ever been created. Things like, in the universe, maybe, I don't know, I mean, I could recycle this can and make something else out of it. Or I get way fancier and do a chemical reaction, which creates brand new substances in the process. But nothing's created. All of the matter and energy is always conserved. Matter and energy can turn into each other. So you can literally be left with what seems like nothing at all, but matter was just converted into energy. And particles like, I think it's quarks, I don't remember. There's some sort of particle that maybe it's like the strong nuclear force, I don't remember, but if you take two particles and you try to separate them, the resistance grows as you try to separate them, and eventually the potential energy difference once you separate them to a point gets so big that it creates matter in between them, but it's created out of, I don't know what you're supposed to call it, an energy field or something like that. So the bottom line is things look like they're created, but matter and energy is always conserved.
Okay, you said something about. I want to touch on that. You said something about how it can appear that it's not that is there's nothing there, but the appearance of something not being there and it actually not being there is two different things. Um, yeah, I'm trying to understand from a logical sense, not even religious. Me and myself, I'm a Christian, but I don't even want to bring the religious aspect into it because I mean, to me, it only makes scientific, logical sense that God exists. I mean, from what you're saying, you could even tie it in and say that God is that nothing that created the universe before it was created, um, or before it existed. Sorry, I mean, because I don't understand how we can say that something came out of nothing or that it is inherently always been there. Does that
But
make sense? Like,
yeah, but isn't that what you believe your God is? Something that is just there, and God created the universe out of nothing?
yeah, but you're saying that the universe itself is that same thing, which would mean
I only say
that the
that the
universe
universe
is
isn't
God.
I only say that the universe isn't created. And like, your concept of God is extremely modern. The ancient Hebrews that told the story of the Old Testament didn't think of their God in those ways.
Well, I mean, I'm just explaining it or trying to have an understanding of it from a very logical, rational sense because I don't want to make it a religious thing. But I mean, yeah, just what you're saying, I agree with, but you have to differentiate the universe itself from it being created by itself or it being eternal, because that would mean that it's God by definition.
Well,
And if that's
so I mean it wouldn't. I don't see how it would in any sense. God is a concept made up by humans, and again, the idea that God is defined as a spaceless, timeless, immaterial, eternal, whatever thing is that is a that is an invention that was just produced by centuries of philosophers arguing about my God could beat up your God. And then eventually, in order for the concept of God to be, I don't know, people just came up with, well, God is the omni God that is all everything and eternal and whatever. So there, right? But that's also, there have been polytheistic gods that have been imagined to exist that aren't like this. So there's nothing wrong with me saying, well, actually, no, God, by definition, has the head of an owl because that's a god by definition, and I could just reject that there's such a thing as a god. I could just tell you that, or a singular god, I should say. I could tell you that a god is, what I just said, by definition, something with the head of an owl, or that is whatever Huitzilopochtli was. I actually read an entire book, and a huge part of it was about that god, but I don't remember very much of it. So
okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I understand what you're saying, but and I guess my thing is the biggest differentiation between atheists or basically the concept of the universe being eternal and then the concept of it being created. Because it's not even about the belief of God, it's about the understanding of how creation is, and then that will prove either that God does or doesn't exist, I guess. That's what it is for me. It's not like a debate about do you believe in a God, it's more about do you believe that the universe was created? And if so, then you believe in God. If you believe that the universe is eternal, then you have to prove that through the universe's I guess the way we were able to view the universe and the way that it's constantly acting. It's not. acting in a way that it's just always been eternal. You don't see different people from different universes coming into our universe. You don't see such things that are just randomly happening across the universe. You don't see planets colliding. You don't see stars colliding. It just seems very purposely made, like it's set on its axle. It's just everything seems like it was too particularly made for it to just be this eternal thing that just aligns itself. And if that's the case, then I would say that that would be God who said it that way. Right? I mean, I think we agree on that kind of, but I don't know. Does that make sense?
I mean, like, so you're just kind of back to the thing about saying, like, that's what God is. And that is the classical monotheistic modern interpretation of what it is. But so, I mean, I don't want to relitigate that necessarily. But I mean, you're saying you're not trying to debate it that hard. So I don't have a problem with just moving on. Did you want to talk about evolution, though, for a little bit, since you
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of brought that
that's
up?
fine. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I believe in evolution in a sense of like if you have a frog that has a stripe on it and it repopulates in a environment that is dense with it's less visible in that area, then that frog will be able to repopulate more and its babies will have spots. I don't believe in evolution from a monkey to a person. So I guess Darwinism is something that I wouldn't believe in.
Okay, so what's the problem with. So, sorry. So evolution can produce changes in an organism, but what what limitations does it have, and on what grounds do you say that it can't do these certain things?
I mean, species are not able to repopulate, so that I mean that may not have the most impact on it being directly caused from evolution, but I mean, only subspecies like a tiger and a lion can repopulate. You can't take a frog and mix it with the monkey and have a different species.
Oh boy. Yeah, I know a frog and a monkey can't play pelvic pinochle and make a species, but that's not what evolution says happens.
No, right. It's the concept that over time adaptations happen to the species and it causes it to change into a different one, like Neanderthal. Then it becomes what we have today as a modern human. But those are
No,
those
but
are not.
well, we didn't come from Neanderthals, but whatever. But I mean, I'm still not seeing the problem. Like many, many millions of years ago, like a couple 100 million years ago, none of the
Wait,
kinds of
how?
life we see today existed. They gradually evolved from different forms of life. I don't see what the problem with that is.
Can I ask a question? Why something that I'm noticing a lot more that I like look into scientific history and stuff like that. Why do we so confidently say that stuff happened hundreds of millions of years? Like, how do we know that this stuff has been? And like, what? I don't understand. I guess I'm more of a skeptic when it comes to science because a lot of stuff that people say in that field, people just believe it. Like, for example, the concept of planets. How are we so confident that planets exist? I mean,
What?
we don't have any type of proof besides pictures
Of
from
other
NASA.
of other planets?
Okay, let me break it down like this.
We've been to Mars.
What proof do we have of that?
The the photos from the rover's taken selfies of itself before. You could watch the whole thing happen like in real time with the last one.
Okay, so but why is like 90% of all the pictures and images that we see from NASA It's underwater. Like it's all bubbles, and they show us this. It's the same thing.
They're not. There's so many photographs from Mars from rovers. And
Okay, but like,
we've been
okay,
to
that's my.
we've been
This
to
is my point
Jupiter,
though.
we've been to Saturn, we've been to Titan, we flew to Pluto, we've
But
been
why
to
do
all
we?
these.
This is my question though. Like, see how that's a discussion of debate, and we're able to like, okay, let's pull facts out and see if we can actually come to an understanding. Why are we able to just believe that, but not certain things when it applies to like different beliefs, like God and creation and how it came to be? Like, I feel like I don't know. It's like everybody is so confidently saying, "Oh, this is what happened. The Jupiter is 700 million miles away." How can you even scale that out to where you can even determine that that's 100% true? Like that's not even scientifically accurate for you to make a statement and say this is this planet is 700 billion miles away. How do you know that? You can't travel 700 billion miles and measure the planet. Like, it just I don't understand that and why people are so confidently. I
Do
don't
you
know.
like I get that it might not make sense, but why do you think that scientists don't know what they're doing?
I think it's just a way of people to try to discredit God.
How would how would the existence of another planet discredit God?
Well, it's not. It doesn't stop there. Like you said before, this goes back to the whole universe expanding theory. If the universe is just constantly expanding, there's different parallels. There's you out there that is black. There's you out there that is a woman. Like you're not important. You are just a dot in the universe, and it's just expanding concept of nothing. Just matter. Space is always continuing.
Is God
It's
grander than the universe?
yeah. To my
Okay,
belief, he is.
then the belief in the existence of God makes humans the most insignificant imaginable thing. Certainly, it makes us more insignificant than if the universe exists, because God is grander than the universe.
Well, I mean okay. That's not what we believe though.
Yeah, but it's logically inconsistent.
So it's logically inconsistent to believe that God created the heavens and earth, and there's no universe, there's no space,
It's
there's
logically
no.
inconsistent to say if there's all this bigger grandeur out there than humans, then we're insignificant and we don't matter. God is an example of the most grandest imaginable thing, yet we still retain our value.
Well, I mean that's not. But that you guys don't believe in God, so that's a contra. I mean that's a contradiction.
No, plenty of people. I'm not talking about my worldview. I'm talking about yours. And there are plenty of people that don't think the Earth is flat that believe in God or whatever's going on. I'm not sure what's going on here, but you're saying all this stuff flat Earthers usually tell me.
Well, I mean I don't necessarily believe anything. Like I said, I don't believe anything scientifically 100% because I don't have a way of proving it. I believe stuff that is provable, like that Earth exists and that
Right.
I haven't ever seen other planets, so I can't just say those ones are tangible. You can go there. Nobody has went to the. I don't believe that anybody has went to these planets and stuff. That's opinion, though. I can't really debate that. But I
I
I
mean,
believe in
so
the.
when you say I haven't done these things or seen them, therefore I don't believe them, that's fair unless when you say I don't believe them, what you really mean is they didn't happen or they don't exist. I've never been to Australia. I say so I don't have an experience with it. In a weird sort of sense, I can't prove that Australia exists. I can only use other people's information to back up the idea. So, I think there is an Australia or whatever. Now when it comes to like the planet Pluto, it's the same kind of thing. I've never been there either. Nobody's ever been there, but we have photos, and I don't have any good reason to think that the photos aren't real or that they're fake or whatever.
You don't
So
have any good reason to believe that God isn't real. See, that's what I'm saying. I feel like it's
there's no
selective.
evidence of God.
That's my point right there. I actually throw that statement out just to make that point. you don't have any good reason to believe that God doesn't exist, but you
There's no
would have.
evidence.
What's the evidence that Pluto exists?
Photographs of Pluto.
What if we had a photograph of tombs where Jesus was raised? Like at that time, what if we could would that make you believe in God?
I could grant you literally all of the miracle claims, and that wouldn't prove that Jesus is God, because the Bible is replete with miraculous claims coming from all sorts of sources that aren't God, like the Pharaoh's magicians, for example.
Okay. So, from your worldview and what you believe, the concept of Pluto, enough of a proof to you is that you see pictures, so you believe it. But you're literally living on a planet full of people who are created in a world that operates functionally every day, and you choose to disregard that it was created.
I So I disregard that it was supernaturally created because there's no evidence of that. And everything about life on this planet can be perfectly described by, well, maybe perfectly is a little bit of a loaded term, but can be adequately explained by evolution. And evolution has the ability to explain and predict and discover things we didn't already know. And the Bible's never done either of those things.
Well, outside of the Bible, evolution can't explain creation. So the evolution is the
There's
evolution
no
of the creation.
there's no reason to think that anything is created. If you're talking about where life came from, like abiogenesis or whatever,
I don't think you're understanding what you're saying, or maybe I'm not understanding what you're saying. There's no reason to believe that things are created.
yeah, we went over that already. Matter and energy is always conserved. Now, things happen
That's
like new.
that's a theory that somebody told you though. That doesn't mean it's true. But by your human logic, I want you to right now look in your room and have that same scientific view that all the things you're looking at, it would be insane or illogical to believe that they weren't created.
Yeah, again, matter. My poop plushie here. Somebody made this. I'm guessing a little Chinese boy, but all matter and energy was conserved before, during, and after the production of this.
Okay, so in whatever sense it was created, that matter and that energy didn't just exist outside of itself to create itself. Do you see what I'm saying?
Not really.
Okay, so you believe that that same matter and energy has existed outside of itself and then it created itself. Or no, it didn't create itself. It just always existed. And it was so genius.
Yeah, we have no
that
evidence of that stuff being created.
so
Like
this
you
this
can take
matter
like
and energy, hold on, this matter and energy was so genius that it was able to form into a microphone, a guitar, a plushie, a t-shirt, a human with hair, headphones. Like this is a very smart matter and energy you're describing. It sounds like God. I don't.
no, if the universe is mostly empty, extremely wasteful, almost entirely devoid of life, and extremely hostile towards life. So this God is a sadistic practical joker, if anything.
And what I mean, and here we are. We're talking about the character, which I don't even want to do because, like I said, that's opinion based. You have worldviews that define that. I'm just trying to rationalize how we can get to a point where and we may not agree on this, but I just don't understand how we can say, like, let's disregard my worldview, let's disregard your real worldview, and just have the mindset of the things that are here. They have always whatever energy, dark energy, matter that it is. It wasn't created; it just was, and it's perfect enough to distinctify itself through solid, liquid, gas, physical, smell. I mean, it's just the genetics of a human, atoms, all of these things that are so brilliant that we view through science. You're saying that all these things they just always were. and now they're just acting out in an expansion
I
of
don't
itself.
I don't know if they always were or if it's something different than that. Maybe God created the universe and no miracle has taken place since the formation of the universe. That's also totally possibly true. It also wouldn't disprove anything we know scientifically about anything.
If number one, the creation of the universe is the biggest miracle to ever exist.
Yeah, sure, but like do you think it's a miracle when I had a bowl of spaghetti before this live stream? Do you think it's a miracle that that spaghetti is going to get my small intestine's going to take nutrients out of it and then some of it's going to get turned into poop? Do you think any of that is a miracle?
I wouldn't say miracle. I would say that
Okay.
it's a genius design.
Okay. So, other than like the creation of the universe, can you point to me anything that happens where we should assume that, oh, that's a miracle over there?
Well, I mean, you're saying miracle, but there's everything. What we're doing right now, we are two meat beings who are blood and flesh, and we're having a an intelligent conversation. This is.
Yes. Everything about that can be explained naturally.
I understand that. I'm not disregarding that at all, but that's exactly what science is, the explanation of something. I'm not talking about the explanation of it. I'm talking about the fact that it is, and if it is, how did it come to be?
So, yeah, I'm not talking about where it came from, but there's like what I said earlier, there's no like can you point to me any single thing other than the universe existing in the first place that cries for a supernatural explanation? Because if the answer is no, then this isn't a useful hypothesis in any way. It doesn't
Why
have the
would, why
ability
would
to
we
explain anything.
why would we budge from the very foundation of what everything is? We can just stay there. The creation of the universe is the miracle. Everything
Okay,
that means that
so
anything in the Bible, a donkey talking or a frog jumping into space, is possible because nothing, absolutely nothing, was created. I mean, everything was created from absolutely nothing. So if that's possible, then anything can happen, and you don't have to question it. Jesus can come back to life because after all, a human was formed from the foundation of nothing. Why would, it's not insane to assume that if that's possible.
in a world where it's possible for a miracle to happen, literally nothing is unimaginable. So that's precisely the problem. A god or something that can literally do anything can't explain anything at all because we can't parse out what this god did or did not do because it could have done anything. So we're incapable of looking at the world and deciding, did God do everything or nothing? Or did God do nine things? It's it's not possible and it's not useful at all as a way to try to make sense of anything.
Well, I mean, in miracle, I mean that was brought into the. I mean, I don't look at miracles to prove God because that's not going to help you prove God when you can just look at creation to prove God.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
that's
miracles,
just begging the question.
but miracles are just the abnormal of what is normal. It would be considered a miracle if a person was born in a situation that they weren't supposed to be born in. That would be
Yeah, but
considered to be
yeah, but
a
it wouldn't
miracle.
literally be a miracle at all.
But I'm just saying that the word, the way that that word is expressed is this wasn't supposed to happen and it did.
Yeah,
That's
but
how
that's not
God.
what a miracle is. A miracle is literally a supernatural type of event that cannot be explained naturally.
Right, like a man coming back from life when he died.
Well, I mean that does happen naturally. You could be legally dead or like whatever and be brought back, but
Yeah, not
anyways.
dead for 3 days though, and then just.
Well,
Well,
yeah, so
okay.
that's so on those grounds I reject that story because it's too stupid to believe in. Just like thinking that Muhammad split the moon in half is too stupid to believe in. I assume you don't believe that story.
Yeah, I don't understand that because you believe that this same material that you believe is universal and it's eternal it can create, or it can adjust itself and expand into shoes and clothes and
Yeah.
small
No
fiber.
miracle takes place.
I'm not saying it does, but you believe that that's possible, but you don't believe that that same atomic DNA or that atomic structure can start speaking if it's a donkey. Like, I don't. It doesn't make sense to believe that. Is that abnormal in society? Yes, we've never seen that happen before. But what's more abnormal than absolutely nothing coming into being like the ground of everything existing?
I don't
That's never
believe that.
happened before. I know you don't believe that, but you still can't prove to me how that's not true. There's no proof to how that's not true. You don't have any.
Yeah.
You don't
But
have
that's
any.
how many things do you believe that there's no evidence for?
How many things do you believe that you don't need evidence because it's if you what evidence do you have to disprove it?
That's not how a burden of proof works. If that's how it works, then I'm just going to invent my own religion. In fact, I did about a year ago. Spanky, you probably can't see him, but I have this purple hippo he lives on my shelf right over there. His name is Spanky. That's him right there. And it's the creator of the entire universe. And you can't disprove me. It's just simply not possible. But everybody I've ever told that to thinks that that's stupid. But it's no less stupid than splitting the moon or talking to a bush or walking on water or getting a resurrection after 3 days.
Sorry. Okay, but anyways, so what you're saying, it doesn't make sense because, and you have to understand this or I mean, you don't have to believe it, but you have to understand where I'm coming from. So what I'm saying is your worldview says something can come out of the existence of any eternal. So what do you believe, that it's just this eternal force?
I don't have a belief about it.
Why not?
Because there's no good evidence and there's no testable predictions for it. I don't believe things that there's no evidence for.
So you don't.
Funny enough, there are things I believe that I know aren't real, however, but I know that we made them up.
So hold on, you don't believe in a world that you live in on the foundations of it? I mean, either way it goes.
I don't have a belief about where the universe came from. I have beliefs about where planet Earth comes from, and they're not miraculous beliefs, but...
Okay, so again, you don't have a belief on the foundation of how everything is in existence.
Correct.
And that's what my point was. That's the problem. That's why I think that
It's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. There's nothing I can't do in life because of that you can do.
Well, your whole belief system is coming from a point of not having a belief on how everything works.
I believe in all kinds of... What color is God's left finger?
God doesn't have a finger.
Okay. What color were Jesus's pubes?
I don't know.
Okay. So if you don't know one thing about your God, then you don't have a belief system.
Where did you get that conclusion?
I'm parodying what you said earlier. I don't know where the universe came from. Therefore, the foundations of he left. Therefore, the foundations of what I believe therefore I can't explain anything else naturally because I don't have that explanation. No, that's not how it works.